Dick Allen, the Connecticut Poet Laureate, with us today. We really were definitely honored to have him and to hear some of his poetry. Now we're going to hear what some of the Goodwin College students have to say, and so I just wanted to mention a couple of things. If you like what you've heard today, definitely please consider joining the Poetry Club. Just email me, chendricks@goodwin.edu. That's not like Jimi Hendrix, it's C. Hendricks with an I, C-K-S, at goodwin.edu, and I'll add you to the list of Poetry Club members so that you receive the emails and know what's going on and you could be a part of that. As well as if you like what you saw with the Beacon participants, if you actually were here for the readings, please again email me. We also have a group of students who meet and help put together that lovely literary magazine. So with no further ado, we're going to just start with, we actually have Ralph, one of our Poetry Club members, over there in the front row, and in no particular order, Ralph will begin, and then just come up as you see a lull or hear a lull up here at the podium. But thank you very much for being here, and here is Ralph.
Oh, hello everybody. Looks like we got some high school students in here. Okay. All right, great. Terrific. So, it's getting to be fall now and Halloween's coming up. Right? Everybody looking forward to Halloween? All right, so this is a Halloween poem for you. It's called Poker After Dark. Dreamed I played poker with a poltergeist. I raised him once, and he called me twice. When the hunchback came, he was a little bit late. First he bumped the bet, then he caught a straight. Along came a mummy that I once knew. He played 3 hands, and he folded 2. I say never trust a mummy, they cheat like a pro. Bury kings in the pile, then they shuffle real slow. When the muck is in the middle, the monsters make their mark. Go ahead and gamble if you want to. Just don't bet on poker, if it's poker after dark. The devil showed up with his usual tricks. With 2 queens in his hand, he flopped 6, 6, 6. The devil brought a friend with a hood up past his neck. After he burnt a card, he let the Reaper cut the deck. When the Reaper spoke, the game got rough. He said, a pair of deuces make a coward tough. A pair of 4s and the hour's up. I've had enough and I'm powered up. If you try to bluff, you're pushing flowers up. An old ogre joined the game, grinning like a child. He said, no one beats my clubs. My clubs are always wild. When the muck is in the middle, any monster can be a shark. Go ahead and gamble if you want to. Just don't bet on poker, if it's poker after dark. Frankenstein sat down, hoping for some hearts. Tried to make 2 hands, but he couldn't find the parts. When Count Dracula flew in, the room fell to a hush. He said, I can join the game, but you know I have to rush. Once he was dealt 2 hearts, he quickly made his flush. Then flew out the window, bats flapping in his wake, yelling, I would have stayed much longer if you hadn't raised the stake. He brought along a cyclops, called him One-Eyed Jack. He had 4 4s, but he threw 2 back. He said, I'll see your bet, pushing in his chips. He put the 2 4s down, and then he called it trips. As Dracula flew out, we watched him disembark. Lightning flew in the window, all in one big arc. Frankenstein was dancing. His bolts began to spark. The moon shined at its fullest, and dogs began to bark. When it's Halloween night, don't play poker. Don't play poker After Dark.
Amazing poem.
Amazing.
It's about image, memory. It's called Eating Bread in China. I asked for bread during our dinner meal. They laughed and giggled. You don't eat bread for dinner in China.
True story.
This one is called tourism. I don't ever want to be a tourist. It will suck your money dry.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of on death and dying today. I guess because I lost some people close to me this year, and one of the most recent was my cousin Diane. And so this is a poem for Diane. Ebony skin rolling like mountains, majestic peaks giving way to dark valleys, flickering light and filtered memories, eyelids fluttering like the shutters of a camera, snapshots of time, viewed through deep almond eyes. Stilled images, both beautiful and elusive, drift in and out of consciousness. Frames of tight curls blown back by the wind, rising anticipation, hopeful, joyous. Dreams close enough to touch, fly far off into the distance. Round another corner, a downward spiral, caught midair. Breathless, ascension. All is not lost, a new beginning. We will remember her ride. Now for my sassy side. Okay, this one is called Cookies to Go. Excuse me. Brothers be wanting cookies to go. Like they can just pull up with a baggie, fill up and bounce. Like kids trying to sneak a snack behind mama's back. Like she don't know you down to the ounce. Grabbing for more cookies than you could eat, leaving crumbs crushed under your running feet. Unaware of the mess you leave behind, the trail of tears, crushed dreams, and crushed hearts from broken promises, lies, and false starts. Leaving cookie jars cracked, empty vessels, wishing they had kept the lid sealed tight from greedy little fingers that would steal your delight. I'm not serving up cookies no more, so little boys need not stop at my door. There's no drive-through window at this eatery. You have to come inside a while. You have to come inside and stay a while to dine with me. If you're a weary traveler who's ready to relax, check your bags at the door to weigh in and pay tax. The tour begins with a glass of fine wine. While we chit and chat, you can feast on my mind. Don't loosen your belt, we ain't got to that part. I'll get to your stomach after I fill your heart. With giggles, smiles, and lots of laughter, while I heat up these pots and your joy reaches rapture. Then if you're ready to settle on in, I'll open the kitchen, let the feast begin. There's a whole buffet here, baby boy, have no fear. My bounty is plentiful year after year. I've got meat and potatoes smothered in gravy. The mac is cheesy, the pasta is wavy. I I've got fish and grits and fresh collard greens, and rice and peas and hot flavored beans, potato salad, yams and fried chickens, ribs, steaks and turkeys with all of the fixings, and hot buttered cornbread fresh out the pan, the kind of meal you set out for a man. For dessert, there's peach cobbler and lots of ice cream, and sweet potato pie that'll make you scream. Yes, I can lace your mind, body, and soul, but nah, you can't get nothing to go. I don't do doggy bags.
Okay, so this poem here, it's kind of a funny story. I was down at the club in Hartford, and they were having a tryout for the Connecticut Slam team. And I'm not a slam poet per se, you know, so I don't know if you've ever been to a slam, but most slam poetry is pretty much free verse, not too much rhyming. So I ended up just doing some random thing, and I ended up qualifying into the semifinals or whatever. So now they told me I got to write some new stuff. I can't use the same material. So I'm thinking, you know, I know I'm not going to win because I'm not really. It's the first time I ever did slam poetry, and these guys are seasoned pros that I'm going. So I said I'm just going to go up there and sort of make a parody of the whole thing and just do my own thing and not even worry about whether I win or not. So instead of not rhyming at all, I took it to an extreme. So this is called The Old Rhymer's Revenge. Is what this poem is called. So this is the great poetry symposium? Then I suppose I am the chosen one, the next lyrical fool to spit and drool in the satirical pool of Imodium and sodium. Words and phrase of sweat and stool strewn about the podium. How quaint, the show must go on, this insidious drama of winning and losing, of picking and choosing. And you who would seek such shallow pleasure in rhetoric so clever and confusing, are scarcely qualified for the endeavor to measure the treasure of such musing. Go on then, wield your mighty marker on your two-penny board, ersatz, shield and sword. While the finest prose I've composed lay exposed on the floor, awaiting your score, my masterpiece is quietly mocked by timekeepers and clocks. Need I say more? I know not to what ends I compete on this stage, feeding the rage, bleeding my trade, completing the phrase, defeated in ways. At the end of the day, just put on display, a parakeet in a cage, simply reading a page. Yet I choose to participate in this epic poetic exposition, awaiting you to contemplate a menial digit for my composition. Should I berate my competition to inflate my position? I think not. I come from a place of love, not hate and division. After all, maybe it's fate that will sway your decision. Either way, what I say is left to decay in the schism. How pathetic. For sounds without purpose are just clowns in a circus, like a mask on a medic made purely aesthetic. Lost and separated these words, a withering way without curds, when at last they are heard are the terminal purge of a verbally absurd word diuretic. So now scribe as you will, for you've duties to fill. Although I refuse not to rhyme, if I should lose, that is fine, I will swallow that pill. If free verse is the scourge and the curse that must come in first, when the best are assessed and the rest are dispersed. If your ears are too blind, please keep this in mind before I resign. If you should find this may not be my time, and you can't give me a 10, then why not give me a 9? And let me remind you, my friends, in the end, I will love you all still.
So oddly enough, I'm not a Goodwin student. I'm a CCSU student. Hello, everyone. Born in 95, thoughts rode deep so I couldn't breathe. Generations taught not to speak, fed nonsense on the low, false history, injected with the lies of the enemy. Binary codes and thoughts puffed into me, rolled temptation into free. Dumb attention for the mystery, tell them you don't need to know. Ignorance bred into our leaves, trees grow, blinded from truth. They don't need to see the truth of what was being taught. Complicated language to disable us linguistically, so now my sibling speaks words but not say anything. Mixed lingo and separated by trouble, so now we breed factories and prisons for the industry. I tell what it is, but they don't want to see or believe. They trapped, caught in the loop, knots tied with horse hairs, necks on the lines for what they see. They go up, eyes blank out. Now they one with the trees. Horse hairs to metals, now their ankles cling. Now their wrist bleeds. Too much television showing low success, images of a people valued depressed. Not questioning self-worth because that's what we meant to be. More like wanted to be, more like not knowing self-worth so we don't realize our sufficiency. Blinded to the past, only history taught is our slavery. Only future known got either bars caging us in or bars setting us free. Convinced to down each other because we will get the green, get the ring, big booties, cars and all the things, but lose our own connection. No longer will it be you and me, or us, or we. It's all about participating in the system, cycle, enslaving us. Thank you. She raises her torch up high, shining on those sleeping below, bearing the crown of thorns while holding the book of independence that doesn't grant her her own. She will never be free unless there was a flood and she was swept by the sea. Too late of the city. She, rejected by freedom, snuck into democracy, cut and bruised by barbed wires with the mindset, I must do this for my family. Even with her eyes closed, she cannot sleep, being held down by the city that seems to feed off the sleep she so desperately needs. Dos mujeres que no puedan dormir, las dos de pie sobre las piedras, debajo de sus piernas. Una con un libro de independencia y una antorcha, y la otra sola con 3 bolsas. Viven en una ciudad que no las respetan, y me preocupo por ellas, porque las mujeres son las madres del mundo, y eso es algo que nunca debemos olvidar. 2 mujeres que merecen mucho más amor. 2 ladies that deserve much more love from us.
Right there. From the mind, what has been leaked. I called upon the difference, and I am not asleep. Desires of my conscience will be foretold as I speak. Dependent on my abstinence, whatever I say, I will not repeat.
Okay. This one is, it tastes like heaven. Ever since my first discovery, it seems I've craved you lustily. Over many years I have waited, eagerly anticipated. Each encounter as presented, and each long lapse I have resented. The sight of you just makes me weak. So gone even the words I speak cannot adequately describe the pleasure I find as I explore your treasure. The smell of you excites my senses. I have to touch you. I am defenseless. Now that I have you in my grasp, I can't help but to think at last. I open wide to take you in as your warm juice drips down my chin. A little sweet, a little spicy. So good and slides so nicely inside my mouth. Damn, I love my mama's barbecue ribs. Okay, I heard the lines just a going, so y'all thought I was going in deep. Ooh, this was about some rib job. Oh, that's right. Okay. Oh, I get them every time with that one. Okay, this one is the game, and I'm hoping I can remember all the words because it's been a while. Usually I'll have a copy of my book with me, but I don't today, so we're gonna wing it. Okay. You wooed me, pursued me with bad intentions, and baby, should I even mention, ooh, the sighs you left between my thighs to numb my brain and hide your shame. Knowing in time I would discover secrets you tried so hard to cover. With lies, passion, and laughter, it was not my love. I thought forever, you thought right now. Then you were gone, but tell me how. I was so blind and did not see. You were trying to make a fool of me. Trying to, ooh, Lord. You were trying to make a fool of me. Engaging me to be your wife while plotting to implode my life. What you came to take, you did not find. I peeped you in the nick of time. Trying to hustle me for my domicile? Damn, I need to pause a while. I do. You thought good sex would dull my brain. Is that what that means? You thought good sex would dull my brain, but sex and my money are not on the same plane. But I think my brain is dull, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to bring the book next time. I'm sorry.
Nothing so juicy as this is called time. Time. From me to you. That is time. Separation. For we cannot join, not in creation, not in time. How can we pretend to be one while we retain ourselves? We are caught by time, sentenced at birth to death, to making our way, to suffering, to seeking union in the pain of separation. Look deeply into time and glimpse beyond into what it is not. Immortality, our future beyond creation, beyond time. Relinquishing ourselves, only then are we joined. Then we become one. As the self dies, the self begins to live. There is no time. There is love. One more. I wrote this in honor of victims of human trafficking, and it's from the viewpoint of one such victim. This is called A Nightingale's Lament. Alone. Oh, I am so alone. The darkness all around is invading me, taking me over until I am almost not here. You would not believe me if I told you, after all, little girls do not speak of such things. My dark reality is so far removed from yours. To admit to yourself what has happened to me is to face the deepest depravity of human nature. Believe me, death would be a much sweeter fate, or to never have been born. The creeping emptiness all but hides a dim memory of a childhood, a loving smile, a warm embrace. A nightingale outside my window reminds me of a distant, long ago lullaby. Or was that just a dream? Or is this a dream? A nightmare, rather, haunting my every breath with its fear and torment. You wake from a nightmare, but my waking is a nightmare, my sleeping a restless respite from the horror that awaits me day after endless day. And yet I tell you, there's something about life. The smell of the morning breeze, the crash of thunderclouds, the birds invading my window. How dare they? I do not want them, I hate them. I hate them because they give me a reason to live, and I do not want to live. Do you hear me? I want to die. It would be funny, don't you think, if it happened with one of them? A fitting ending, a victory of sorts, as his unfinished business shrivels at the sight of my lifeless body. But that will never be, you see. For to tell you the truth, I am already dead. Dead, I tell you. Save for a nightingale's lament just outside my window.
Yeah. If anybody else has any.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, break the microphone. This, I spent a few too many years as an addict, homeless, and so I wrote this this poem, which turned into a song, and the song turned into a video, and it's on YouTube, and it's called Walk a Mile. I met a really talented musician who played guitar and sang the chorus. I'm not going to sing it, I'm just going to do it as a work of poetry, which is what it started as. But the first two lines were actually my actual experiences, and then the rest of it is just sort of an elaboration on that. But you'll understand what I mean. So it's called Walk a Mile. Picking up cigarette butts off the ground. I asked an old man for $1. Walking all night. The shelters are full, and the cops are waiting to collar. It's been raining all night, so I got a hot meal at the local soup kitchen. I tried for a job, but I couldn't find work because I'm not in working condition. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile. I went down to get my final check at my last place of employment. I would gamble away most of my pay, but at least it gave me enjoyment. I went to the park, stayed there till dark, where the old man kept repeating his story. He said, I fought in the war, don't remember what for. Take a look at what's left of my glory. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile. From commanding a fleet to a man on the street, my life took a turn for the worst. But what's most disturbing is the ghost in my bourbon who haunts with insatiable thirst. I lived there on that bench, just under the stench, and laughed as he gave me his bottle. Said, here's to you, friend, go well to your end, knowing you've met your role model. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile, walk a mile. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a while in my shoes. Walk a mile, walk a mile. Thank you.
Okay, I have a little poem that just one of those things where you're walking along through nature and you just happen upon this scene that you don't think much of at the time other than, wow, I can't believe that just happened, and you have to write about it later. So it's Study of a Mosquito. We watched as you struggled to dry your wings on a patch of sludge and other floating laurel droppings, evading the mouth of a greedy rainbow trout, who summons snapping splashes by gulping so close about the patch on Lake Waban where you tried to gain flight. Your wings zipped fiercely in your plight to survive being swallowed by the fish, persistent for meal to replenish. We watched, amazed, when you fell off that raft of mud lake coverings, struggling, straining, to gain flight from water and dry your wings. Does anybody else have anything to read? Okay, so then I'd like to just invite the people who have read to come on up to the front of the room, and we'll just have some time for Q&A for all the people who came here today. Does anybody have any questions?
That stays in the family. Sorry.
Well, nicely done. I will say I'm Professor Seymour, and I haven't had any audience with me in my public speaking class. Lovely group of vibrant students. So my question actually connects to sort of delivery. How do you prepare for an open mic? Are there any tips that you can provide people who want to sort of find courage to make their way to the microphone? Any sort of techniques that you might have?
Yeah, that's my advice. When you're ready, say when you're like to yourself, in your room or whatever, you're ready. Say it out loud to yourself over and over and over again for like 15 minutes, 1 hour. Keep saying it over and over again until you remember it so good that you hear yourself say it so much that you won't be shy when you talk to a crowd. That when you're talking, you hear yourself say it. You're so used to it. You just keep saying it. It's kind of into it as well.
Something I'd like to add is a lot of times when you're first going in front of the crowd, some days you just get emotional. You know, even if you're just saying a poem about the sunshine, it just, I don't know, just because of the nervousness. So it's just, but you know what? It's just part of the process. So you know, it's like everything else. You just get better at it. And, you know, just learn to internalize that and put it out in a performance sense instead of just you know, getting choked up with everybody. I've seen a lot of people who are just starting out and they get starting to get emotional. You know, I don't know. I think it just comes with the territory, you might say. So you know, don't be afraid of that. Everyone's human. So you know, don't be embarrassed or whatever. That happens. It just means that you're trying to get better at it.
Can I show you how? Can you stand up over here? Opposite. Don't let anything get up. That buildup of emotion that's coming up to his mind right now, or like the nervousness that's coming up, that's fuel. That is enjoyment. That is anxiety. He was ready to stand up when I pointed at him. You were ready too. But you were nervous nonetheless. Because it's part of something that comes to mind. It's understanding that that's what happens. And when you get on stage, whether or not you have the butt magnet where you lean against the wall, or the elbow that likes to lean against this, and you get uncomfortable, it's knowing these things. That's how you prepare yourself. It's preparing yourself to know what you're going to want to do. And then remove yourself from doing what that is, so that you feel more comfortable in front. You learn your habits and you learn how to perform in front of other people, whether it's not giving a speech or performing poetry or even just talking, like what I'm doing now. You got to learn your habits and understand how to break them. How do you feel now?
What I was just adding to that is like when you're up there and you're delivering your poetry, your speech, whatever, and you feel those nerves, breathe through. Like pauses are okay. You know, sometimes just slowing it down, feeling it, and just breathe through it, just relax it, just, you know, flow with it. And every piece I do, wouldn't say that I actually prepare, because every performance is different. I'm feeling different on any given day. My audience, the energy that I feel is different on any given day. So you just kind of settle into it, pick the pieces you think will be right for your audience, and breathe through it.
So do you know your audience?
What inspired your second poetry?
My second poem, which was the second? Cookies to go? Oh, well, I'm a single woman, I'm divorced. And I'm also a woman, I'm an older woman. When I was young and I would date, men would commit to the date, to taking out courting, the courting process. And people have relationships. I don't know about, you know, how young people do it nowadays, but it seems like girls just tend to smash it. And so coming back out to the dating world after being married and divorced is real different for me. And older guys try to act like you're teenagers and they want to smash and go. And that's troublesome. You know, so I have these conversations with other women my age that are like, like, no, girl, no, he didn't try that. So that's where that poem came from. It's like, I'm more than some cookies. Like, there's a whole buffet here. Why are you trying to get some cookies and like, that's some little kid stuff. You know, that's what it is.
Is that metaphor, the cookies in the cookie jar,
Yeah, cookies are
infantilizes the men. You know, they're acting like children, and just that one talking about it in terms of cookies drops it
Right,
down to that
I'm
level.
a grown woman, come to me different.
What do you mean?
Don't
Right.
Exactly. I'm the whole meal. You know, appetizer, meal, dessert, the whole, yeah. Oh my God, like, yeah, you can just come and get some cookies and go. Let's sleep with all that, you know? So that's what it is.
Any other questions?
You mentioned you have a book? Yes, I do. I self-published a book about a year ago, and I usually carry copies in my pocketbook, and I don't believe I don't have any with me, but it's called Picking Up Pieces. And it's a little small book about 20 poems, and I think they're kind of like fun, relatable, so.
You have Shiro, is Shiro in there?
Oh, Sister Girl?
Yes, Shiro.
That was Sister Girl.
That was good.
Thank you, yeah, I think that was part of Sister Girl, that what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. I saw it last year when.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The National Library.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's in there.
eternal. My poems are very much inspired by my femininity, my experiences as a woman, and by the experiences that I hear from other women. Some of them are universal, some are personal, some are me taking on a persona of someone who's been through something that I necessarily haven't, but I'm speaking in the first person for that person. And then there's some that are like more of the more playful, passionate, just fun poems. And so I just kind of like explore different avenues and styles of writing. And it's fun. I like it. Sorry?
So I asked a question to Dick Allen. I asked if there was one of the 5 senses he was more drawn to than the others, and he said sight and sound. I'll ask you guys, is there something in your poetry you find yourself gravitating towards? For instance, with Ralph, I think it's wordplay. There's enough, like that Halloween poem, the puns in that Halloween poem are brilliant, So you obviously find yourself gravitating towards playing with the meaning of words, but the other poets, I wonder if you could speak, or even you, Ralph, to something you find yourself doing over and over in your poetry, or returning to over and over, because it's something that engages you.
Well, for me, my mind works, they say that memory works better, and my mind is just a constant mind, and it's been that way since I was a kid, so I take rhyming to just this ridiculous level. I don't know if that's good or bad or what. I could probably write a whole novel and rhyme for the whole thing. It's just, and I really, really like words. I just really have a passion for words. So, I'm the type of person who will read the dictionary as a bathroom book. Yeah, I just love words. So it really isn't a sensory pattern thing.
For me, I would think my biggest
You're the master of food and the metaphor.
Somewhere I have this Freudian thing where food and sex go together for me, so.
We all do, whether we realize it or not.
So that tends to be a recurring theme in some of my poems. Food as a metaphor for sex, or sex as a metaphor for food. I'm not sure.
What I would say for me would be feeling and very deep inspiration. When I really get into like my real poetry, more writing, really like I want to shout out. I want to push all my feelings in, but at the same time, so I feel the rhythm and understand. It's kind of the way.
I didn't introduce myself earlier. My name is Black, by the way. And like her, I got a book published. It's coming out within the next 2 weeks. It's called Laughing Matters. And what I gravitate toward is the voices of individuals who are not really heard, either because they don't speak up or they don't feel as though they have the place to speak. So I teach in high schools, I teach in elementary school. The students who are, my favorite students are the ones who are quiet, because they're the ones that have so much more to say. And I talk a lot, and I'm full of crap, I know it. I got the egos rolling, all that good stuff. But the individuals who I respect the most are those who are able to sit quietly. Those who are able to sit quietly by themselves. Those are the stories I prefer to tell in poetry. So I focus on social justice, and I focus on more of the self, more of other individuals, self of other individuals, and what they confide in. Conversations is what I write about. I have a poem I spoke with a professor at CCSU, linguistics, and one of the things that came up is how we are taught in a binary system where opposites exist only. And then afterwards, those who are apt actually move out of it. And that's something that interested me. But we conversed about it, and then I wrote it in a piece. And that's the main thing that I like. If we are able to talk to each other, we are able to write to each other and speak to each other in a more artistic way. Laugh stands for love above, under goes hate.
That's your real name?
No.
I'm in public speaking class and like kind of learn these different things. I see you shaking your leg. Are you nervous?
No, I'm just having like anxiety problems. I know.
Okay, I'm sorry to point out, I just wanna know, like, is that something, because when you're speaking, I mean, that could be distracting, so I just wanna know if are you nervous? You know, like, if you're nervous or.
I do the same thing if I'm sitting and fit my leg, but just like.
So it's not that I'm nervous per se in the way that we think of it. I just have a bunch of energy, and so I release it in multiple different ways. So I'll do this, I'll play with my promise ring, I'll play with my hair, shake the hell out of my leg like I'm a dog.
I got a question for you with rap. Your first poem, you had a rhythm and a song going to it. Do you do like music when you actually write? Do you listen to something when you're writing, or is it just that's how it comes out?
I started off writing poetry as a rap poet, and so I mix rhythm with words, and I make them sound dope. So I do exercises with students where we listen to a range of different music, from Louis Armstrong to Nas, and a bunch of individuals that intellectually engage you through lyrics to get you writing in rhythms and writing about what you're hearing rather than just the beat. But in turn, you would eventually start writing with the beat of whatever you're listening to. And so I write listening to music, listening without music, but I won't perform to music.
Now you said Louis Armstrong. Now is it just him as a style, or is it a genre? Like, would you say like Coltrane, like different, like music like that, or is it just strictly to a beat or a pattern?
To anything really. If like, so Louis Armstrong, the main song I focus on is La De Ambrose, because there's a strong emphasis of both the lyrics, the instrumentals going in the background, and mainly the trumpet that he plays in between. And then when I go to Nas, it's more for the lyricism. I'd be thinking in an intellectual way. I would go to the Hey, I Just Met You song, just to get writing going on, because it's easy writing stupid stuff like that. And so it would depend on one of my purposes.
You mentioned Nas a lot, so is there any other, I would say lyricists that you would feel besides Nas?
I took this as a very great honor. Someone compared me to KRS-One, where I spit factual things rather than personal. So there's a bunch of lyricists. Someone to look up is my mentor, Self-Suffice. And he is an individual who helps out a lot in Hartford. My favorite lines that he did was from a song called Get Free. And it goes, can it be we are only a reflection of the tendencies we tend to believe, achieve reality from emotions that we preconceive? How you can perceive knowing who you be around ever see? I blame the system and the man in conspiracy, tricking me to figure the man in control isn't me. Before I reach for your purse, reimburse my soul, leave my body in peace when they carry me and it hurts. And for every story I'm yelling, somebody got it worse. Can't tell it, but they nod their head when we drop the verse.
Publish in the weekend, but you also have some other venues to.
Yes.
Sure, that's
nice of you to ask. Yeah, I was going to the Russell downtown Hartford for a while. I haven't been there in a long time because I've been spending more time working on my book, which is a memoir about my life. So it's taking a lot of my energy and time. But this is a paper called View to the Street. It's sort of underground Hartford paper. It's getting out to East Hartford now. And it basically deals with issues of social justice, poverty, homelessness, addiction, incarceration, things of that nature. And it comes from the Charter Oak Cultural Center. And what it does is it allows people on the street to write their experiences, to express them, and they actually get paid to do that. They get like $20 to write an article, which is in the form of a Walmart card because some of them have issues with child support and income and stuff. So they do it in a way that is not going to affect anything that might have going on. And then they have a poetry section in here, which is about 2 pages usually. And they pay people $10 for a poem. So it's a great way for a lot of people to, number one, anybody can submit a poem, and it's a great way to get published. You see stuff in the paper. It helps a lot of people. It helped me a lot. And because of Charter Cultural Center, I was able to get scholarship to come to Goodman. So it all started with this paper. I just did an open mic spontaneously, and then I invited to a newspaper meeting, and that led to a thing called the Bot School, which was a bunch of classes I took, and I had no idea. I was just taking them to keep myself out of trouble and make sure that I just recently got out of jail, and I wanted to make sure that I started to do everything. So after that, they gave me a brand new laptop computer, which was amazing. And then they told me I was eligible for a scholarship. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. But yeah, so I definitely, I'm going to start bringing the paper here.
Anyone can submit?
Anybody can submit and get $10. So if you want to get something published, this is how you do it. Anybody? Sure.
What is it that your body or yourself, personally, your mind, even your soul, when did you have that?
Well, the last time I got incarcerated, it was more than once. It's been a long journey, over too many years. And the last time I really felt like it's difficult to talk about, but I really felt like a higher power stepped in and kind of saved my life.
What you bring to your meetings, because you do have a phenomenal way of reading these things.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm talking about it, I want to say
Okay.
well, basically, when I started coming here, I started writing like rhymes in high school. Just slowly, when I got to college, I started taking English class. I started learning more words. I started learning poetry, rap. Like I first learned that rap form of poetry. I wanted to explore that more. So I went to the poetry club and I saw what they were given. And I put my taste in it, and I just from there just kept working on it. Got to the point where I had to put myself in front of a crowd, present what I had, and have the guts to accept the feedback. Ricardo. For me to get to a point for performance, it's more like you gotta like kind of people that you know, because I'll talk to family and I'll try to say something to them and they tell me like, you know what, I like the way you say this, or I like the way you read this, because every time I get the chance to read, like in the classroom or something, I like to read out loud. Because it's more to me, I practice the way I say my words. When I practice, I want to say it like this, I want to say it like that. So, you know, I like the way you read. I want you to read it again. All right, I got you. That's kind of what I like to develop myself, and just in other aspects, or just talking and having a conversation with a person in general, just kind of speaking clear and slow, and I kind of just incorporate those things into like performance poetry, depending on what I'm trying to do. Sometimes I like to get it really loud, or low, or just soft, depending on what the piece is.
And in the poetry club, I want to say, in the poetry club, we spend a lot of time looking at what we're writing, the words we're putting up. Oh yeah, you should write it this way. Oh no, that metaphor doesn't work, And one day, Dominique was there in a meeting, and he said, "Listen, it's great to focus on our writing and how the words are put in the page, but we need to focus more on performance." This is for their public speaking class. He said, "I want to see this club spending some time practicing how we say the words out loud." And he was 100% right. And so we devoted a couple meetings, and Dominique sort of took control and said, "Read that out loud for me. Now read it differently for me. Now read it this way," And we had to practice the words, and the more you can do that, the stronger you're going to be, not just reading things in front of a group like this, but as Dominique says, when you speak out in class like that, suddenly you're going to be that much more confident. So I wanted to interject that.
Well, let's give the key members of our poetry club, these are the 3 key members, we have more also, but let's give them a round of applause.
Day, it's the National Day on Writing Conference. We have a whole day devoted to writing and writing poetry and just really, getting involved in that. So, and it ends with the open mic. So please join us for that as well. And thank you for